Hello, and welcome to Discovering True Health, your weekly deep dive into health and wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get started with today's show, please hit the subscribe button below. It helps us out a lot, and you'll stay up to date on all our upcoming shows. You can also check out additional information on our website, Instagram, and Facebook. All those links are below. Now, about 80% of Americans experience a back problem at some point in their lives, and 54% of the people with neck or back pain have had these problems for at least 5 years. I myself have struggled with back pain for years and found it difficult to find a solution, a doctor, a specialist who could help alleviate it. So, if this is you, you're definitely not alone. So, today in Discovering True Health, we are going to learn a holistic approach to address back pain and to take our power back and learn how to become our own back rehab expert. We'll be discussing solutions for managing and relieving back pain, great exercises and nutritional strategies to relieve back pain, and how our brain is actually our best asset in relieving back pain. So my guest today is Deneen Vigiano, founder of Retrain Back Pain, an integrated, holistic, multidisciplinary educational empowerment and coaching program where she has assembled all the best practices. Her mission is to educate and empower everyday people with back pain on the thousands of holistic ways they can self-manage and relieve back pain. And Deneen is also a McGill BackFit Pro, a level 3 trained neurokinetic therapist and craniosacral therapist, a certified nutrition counselor, and a certified holistic health coach. So thank you so much for joining me today, Deneen.
Hi, Christy. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, did I say your last name right? I feel like I
Yeah, it's a tough one. Deneen Vigiano, that works.
Vigiano. Okay. I stumbled a bit, but I was close. All right. Now, you created your program out of your own debilitating back pain and disappointment in the traditional back pain industry. So, can you share with us your journey, why you created your educational program, what you've learned along the way around why we need to become our own back rehab boss, as you call it, and not leave it up to the doctors?
Yeah, it's a little insane. You mentioned in your introduction that you also experienced back pain. And so, when I came into my own back pain experience, I was already, a nutrition, therapeutic movement, fitness pro. And I tried for a while to fix myself. And when I couldn't, I felt like a complete failure because I thought I should know how to do this. And I know there's a lot of other movement professionals who feel the same way. Um, and what's really insane is that we're all sort of starting from zero, figuring it out. There's no like in the UK, there's the National Institute of Health, and there's like a basic roadmap of what you do when you have back pain and what you should and shouldn't do. We don't really have that here in the US, and so all of these millions of people with back pain, we're all just sort of starting from scratch. And
Stumbling around in the dark, it feels like.
yeah, and to think of how many people are repeating the same process
Yeah.
with no information, it's kind of maddening. It's so inefficient, and
Yes.
it's so unfair to those of us that are in pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my journey was I tried to fix it myself for a while. When that didn't work, I finally went in and had imaging. And I thought, oh, great, I'm going to get these x rays and MRIs, and then the doctor's going to give me a diagnosis, and then I'm going to get a treatment, and then I'm going to feel better. And that's not what happened at all.
Shocking.
Yeah, so somewhere in that trajectory of, and I live in New York City, so we really have phenomenal providers here. So I wasn't at a loss for good people at my disposal. I saw many people, both massage therapists and physical therapists and osteopaths and physiatrists and orthopedic surgeons and neurologists. I saw so many people, and a lot of it, unfortunately, I paid for out of pocket, so it was very expensive.
Wow.
And at some point, I was sitting on the floor. We had a different apartment. It was like a pre-war New York City apartment, and it was kind of drafty, and it was winter. And I had my son was young then. He's 17 now, but he was a toddler. And I wanted to get on the floor and play with him, and I couldn't
Wow.
because I knew if I sat down on that drafty floor with my back, I'd be crippled. I wouldn't be able to move for a long time. And it was kind of that moment after months and months and months of not getting solutions that I realized that I can't keep doing what the back injury industry tells us to do because none of it's working, none of it's helping. And I had all these questions. I'm a do for yourself kind of woman. This is like your whole podcast, YouTube channel is about advocating for your own health, right?
Yes.
So it was extra, extra frustrating for me that I would see all of these professionals. I was spending all this money. And at the end of the day, when I went home, I had nothing to show for it. I didn't have relief. I didn't have knowledge. I didn't have tools. I was still as hopeless and helpless as when I started the process.
Mm.
And I was just bouncing from clinician to clinician. They were all telling me something different. And it was in that moment that I realized there's got to be a better way. And there wasn't. So I created it.
I figured it out on your own. I love that. And yeah, that's what we're all about is this knowledge is power. And talking to people like you that have kind of it's always this beautiful full circle where, you've come across a problem and then you were like, no, I'm going to figure this out. Like you tried all the professionals and nothing worked. And then you figure it out and now you're helping others do it, which is such a beautiful full circle. And that's why we love talking to people like you with this incredible information. Now, you said you went to this plethora of different types of doctors. What's one of the things that you notice most about the different back pain programs out there that they didn't address that they should be addressing with patients? And also, since there are so many different types of doctors out there and testing, like you said, these MRIs and x-rays, what types of testing is right, for us if we're in this position?
Well, one of the problems is that we sort of give away our power and just assume that the doctors know best.
Right.
And they they do in certain situations, but nobody really knows more than you. And if you have an inkling about what's been going on for you, there's a part of your intuition that should there's a way to allow your intuition and your own experience to guide what you do. But unfortunately, especially when it comes to the back, the back's a little different than if you sprain your ankle or if you break your thumb. When we hurt our back, it is a lot more serious, and people really defer very heavily, like it's your brain that we have to only go to the specialists. And although there is a place, and I do recommend going to see a doctor if you're in pain and you've been in pain for a while and it's not going away, there's also um, there's also this thing that I call I tell my clients don't become a vomit. And vomit is actually an acronym,
Okay.
VOMIT, for a victim of medical imaging technology.
Wow. Interesting.
Because the research shows that just because you're, 30 or 40 or 50 and you've got some herniation or stenosis or degeneration in your discs, those conditions are not necessarily the reason for your pain. So if you go and you get a scan, you will find something. They will find something to report on your spine.
Right.
And then somebody will treat that thing. But that thing that they find in the radiology report may not be the driver of your pain.
Right.
So it's not a bad idea to get the scans as long as you don't put, full faith in those scans like that is the solution. Really the best way to address this for me and what I teach my clients is that there are many, as in thousands of skills and tools that we can do all day every day through our lifestyle, many of which don't really depend on having a scan, all of which are going to benefit everyone with a spine, whether you have arthritis or stenosis or herniation or scoliosis or, you know, relearning, retraining how you think, move, and eat is going to set you up for better spine, what I call spine hygiene, better
Right.
spine health.
Right.
And so
Which is so
I'm not
important.
against doctors. I mean, I think I've referred a couple of my clients to surgical specialists. Actually, there's a time and a place, and we're all really grateful that we've got Western medicine to help us when we need it. But the problem is that most of my clients, Christy, who come to me say, I've tried everything. I'm scheduled for surgery in 3 months.
Wow.
But they haven't tried everything because there's no way for them to know about everything because nobody's talking about everything. People are only talking about the same couple of things.
Yeah.
Get a massage, go for chiropractic, do some stretches, strengthen your core, take some painkillers or anti inflammatories, try acupuncture. And if all of those things fail, and maybe try physical therapy, and if that's not working, then you must need surgery.
Right.
But there's like thousands of other things that we can be helping these people do that they don't know. And part of the problem, part of my beef with the back pain industry is that the people that are doing like an orthopedic spine specialist is really good at orthopedic spine specialism,
Yes.
and an orthopedic spine surgeon is really good at operating on spines.
Right.
But it's not their bag, it's not their responsibility, and frankly, their businesses are not set up to spend a lot of time to educate their clients, to answer a bazillion questions, to follow up with them on a visit that just happened. Even physical therapy, it's the unique physical therapy practice that is geared towards education, support, and empowerment and coaching. Many of them just do like an assessment, do these exercises, come back next time.
Right.
And there's not really it's not really the way the insurance industry is, and these clinicians and doctors offices are run. They're just not really set up for empowering and supporting and coaching the client to become
Right.
more autonomous and to be able to self advocate and to know more about their situation so they can take better care of themselves. So that's where I come in.
And none of them are holistic. They're all, like you said, they're specific. One tiny, like if there's an entire pie of, all these causes that can affect back pain, they're this tiny, tiny slice and they only stay within those boundaries, like you said. And that's a problem in general with the entire healthcare business, with everything. It's like, and I love that you take this holistic approach and also approach to mitigate and prevent as well, because that's so important. If we can learn what these things are and these behaviors, like you said, you do diet, you deal with the brain and lifestyle. If we can learn those things and prevent back pain, I mean, and like you said, there's so many. I mean, it's just it's crazy to me how disjointed and dislocated this whole system is, and it's kind of not helping anybody in the long run. And from working with your clients, what would you say, you know, one or some of the big mistakes that you see everyone with back pain makes? And are there ways we can avoid some of those mistakes?
Yeah, I love talking about this, and the more people that hear this and can be aided by this, I'm a huge fan. So thanks for asking that question. I think one of the biggest mistakes is not being proactive enough about managing not only your care options but also your care providers. um, Passive therapy. So, very often, the things I named before, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, those are all passive, right? You go to an office and the professional does something to you on the table, and then you go home and it's like no homework,
Right,
usually. I mean, sometimes there is, but um, it's not you doing for yourself, it's somebody else applying their trade to you. And so, becoming your own best self advocate, learning how, a lot of my clients are really surprised when we get into, there's a section of my work that's called Assemble Your Team. And being able to self advocate and manage your medical providers like a boss, like you're hiring them, you're the employer.
Right.
They're not in charge, you're in charge,
Love that. It's this huge
right?
mindset shift
It's a
from
huge shift of
help, what do I do here? Take my
right.
body
Walking
and
into
life in
somebody's
your
office and
hands.
saying, "What's wrong with me? What should I do?" is very different than
Yes.
walking into a neurologist's office and saying, "Hi, I've seen this person, this person, this person, this person. I've been suffering this for 3 years. This is what I've done before. These are my goals. This is what I'm not really a fan of getting into. I'd like to know who you work with and what your methodology is." Like it's an
Right?
interview.
Yes. Wow.
They're gonna love me for saying that, by the way.
It's so true though, because I've gone into different kind of tried chiropractic or different modalities, and you know, and you almost feel like you can't tell them what to do. It's like, look, I've know from my past experience with other, working with other sports medicine doctors, etc., that if you mess with my hip or my sacrum or push around there, that's going to make me 100 times worse. And I almost, I sometimes have gone in, I feel like I can't tell them what to do. I can't say, hey, this doesn't work for me. It's like, it's almost like this, I don't know, but I love that mindset shift.
Yeah, it is for some providers it is a boundary and they know better than you and your opinion and your experience is not welcome. And this is actually a topic for an entirely other podcast because Christy, the majority of my clients are women and the amount of gaslighting, medical gaslighting that happens to women is appalling. It's heartbreaking that we go in and tell doctors things and they completely disregard us
Yeah.
time and time again. So it's what you're saying, it may be a function of that practice, but it's also made a lot worse by the male female dynamic in a medical setting for sure.
Absolutely. And we've done entire shows on the women's healthcare industry and how,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot out there. It's definitely something where we need to take control and take our power back, and everything that you're doing is so incredible when it comes to, and I love this idea how you're empowering your clients to build their team. That's absolutely so important. Now you take this holistic approach, which we mentioned before, which I think is so incredible and so important when it comes to addressing back pain. Um, can we start with, you mentioned how our brain is a powerful tool. So, how is our brain our best asset when it comes to relieving back pain?
Yeah, that this is another one of the problems in within managing back pain is that we are still very much in a mechanistic model of treatment, meaning, you get a scan or you have an assessment and somebody says you have XYZ wrong with your spine. So if you have X, then do these exercises. And so it's sort of like a spot treatment um, mechanistic model of if you're broken here, then you're going to fix it this way. And really, in the hierarchy of the body, your neurologic system, your nervous system, trumps your musculoskeletal system every time. I mean, the boss of your muscles and the boss of your bones, it's your nerves, and your nerves are connected to your brain. So what a lot of people don't realize, after if you've been in pain, if you've had back pain or any kind of pain really for more than 3 to 6 weeks, and it starts to become quite persistent, then more than whatever that diagnosis is, like let's say you have a herniation in your spine, your problem is less the herniation, and it's more that you are now developing after 6 weeks, you're developing a pain dysregulation situation. And
Ah,
once your nervous system becomes dysregulated, you become oversensitized to pain. And so your body is on high alert, like everything is a 3 alarm fire or a 5 alarm fire. So we really need to manage our nervous system in order to be able, it's not that you don't have pain from the herniated disc. I'm not making light of mechanical dysfunctions in the spine, but our nervous system can really run away with us. And so some of the ways that we work with the nervous system is through understanding, just to help people understand how pain works in the body.
hmm,
It kind of takes them behind the curtain.
Mm.
Gives them a little bit more like, oh, I see what's happening when I'm thinking like that. So just sort of having an understanding of how pain operates on a really sort of everyman discourse. And then finding skills and tools that can help you tap into your nervous system. A lot of the same things that'll help you manage anxiety and stress, like breathing and rest and tapping and rolling and good nutrition and good hydration and so yeah, your brain is really it's John Sarno, Dr. John Sarno was very famous in sort of the mind over matter methodology of managing back pain,
Ah,
and people kind of misunderstand that pain is in the brain is a saying that we have in the industry or in the healthcare industry, and people mistake that to mean that it's all in your head.
right.
But pain is in your brain means that it's in your whole neurologic, lymphatic, immunologic. I mean, it's in every system of your body, which is mediated by your nervous system, which is your brain. But it doesn't mean that what you have doesn't hurt. It just means that there may be some things functioning that are running away and they're just harder to control.
Right. That's so fascinating. That's so important to know. And you actually will work with your clients on, you said, rebalancing this neurological system once there's kind of this chronic pain that sets in.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and you know this, right? A lot of people, when they have back pain or they get a diagnosis, which core exercises should I do? Which stretches should I do?
Yeah.
Exercises should I be doing? Nobody's really talking about, cognitive behavioral therapy or acceptance and commitment therapy or we're not really addressing the mindset and the nervous system first. But if you're doing exercises and you're afraid because you've been in pain, right? And now
Right.
that somebody's going to give you exercises, everything you're going to do is going to hurt because you're like your nervous system is primed for fear because it's trying to protect you. So you can get exercises, but if your nervous system is all frazzled, it's probably not going to work for you. So, layering on exercises before you tackle the brain and the nervous system is sort of putting the cart before the horse.
Got it. So first step is, deal with the nervous system and the brain and, work with some of your tools around that. And then we start with physical stuff after that.
Yeah, and some of the ways that people, even if you don't know how to, like, how do I manage my nervous system? I mean, a couple of really easy tips are, if you're reading the newspaper and watching the evening news every night, you're already amping up your nervous system just
It's
from
that
watching
fight
the
or
news.
flight, those hormones, those cortisol. Yeah.
Yeah, we're living in a stressful time, so maybe you want to sort of filter what you're watching, what you're reading, who you're talking to, how much time you're spending on your devices, what time you're going to bed, like all the basic stuff we know to manage stress.
Right.
That'll work here. If your stress and your cortisol is high, your pain sensitivity and your experience of pain is going to be higher as well.
Interesting. Oh, thank you for that information. And those are some really great starting points that everybody listening can kind of start thinking about. Now, getting into the physical realm, once we've kind of tapped into that part and got our, all those skills, we've started out on those and got them all going. Are there any great exercises after that or stretches that we can do or should be doing to relieve back pain?
Yeah, sure. Um, the best advice I can give people is do more of what doesn't hurt and do less of what does hurt. Don't focus as much on all the things you can't do. Like if you can't go running yet, don't don't think about it.
Right.
If all you can do is walk, just walk. If you can't walk 10 miles and you can only walk to the mailbox and back, just keep feeding your body whatever movement you can do is going to be really good for you to stay strong. So I would say do more of what you can do, do less of what you aren't able to do. consider that the exercises that you were doing before you had back pain might be completely inappropriate for you now. So if you want to go back to that yoga practice or go back to your yoga, your Pilates, or go back to CrossFit, you might need a period of time where you really have to work much smaller and do a lot less and really work from the inside out before you go into big heavy like overhead lifts. And
Right.
you might have to work out a little differently for a rehab period, and that depends on what that is for some people. In terms of specific exercises, um, you know, I would say breathing is the one exercise nobody's doing.
Wow. Yes.
And this ties back to the pain modulation. So if you're breathing, I mean, you can start with, this morning I went for a walk and I set a timer on my Apple Watch for 3 minutes. And I just sat down on a park bench and I breathed for 3 minutes. And it was over. I thought it was like 30 seconds. It went so fast. But you don't have to breathe for 20 minutes. You don't have to meditate for 20 minutes. But breathing, and when you're breathing, if you want to tamp down your pain response and sort of elicit the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming part of your nervous system, try and extend your exhales. Try and make your exhales a little longer than your inhales. And when you get to the end of your exhale, pause and then inhale and then pause and then stretch out your exhale. So I call that an exhalation extension. So that's one exercise you can do. Actual exercise for your spine, I would say one of the best things for most people is something that nobody's doing and nobody's recommending, which is hanging.
Ah,
So if you don't have anything to hang from, you can take a towel and throw it over a door and close the door. You can do that. There's if you Google yoga strap door, there's a way to hang from something over your door,
okay.
or you can just hang your fingers over the door frame. But it's basically creating traction. So
Right.
your arms are up and it'll create a little length in your spine. It'll sort of create some stretching through your back muscles. If you can't hang or you're, 5 feet and you just don't have access to the door frame, one of the second best things you can do is to open a door, hold on to both sides of the doorknob, and then walk yourself back so that you're in an L shape and your back ends up being flat and your legs end up being a little bit angled underneath you like this.
Okay.
And it's the same thing. You're stretching from your shoulders through your spine to your hips.
So you're just adding space.
Yeah, you're creating a little bit of traction or distraction is what we call it. And then you can even add a little hip swivel from side to side and lengthen out the quadratus lumborum, for example. That's actually my all-time number one desert island best stretch ever.
And I'm assuming these are all things we can do as prevention too, to
Oh,
prevent that
sure. It's a
pain.
great way, if you've been at your desk too many hours and you want to just, stretch out from there, you're going for a walk, workout, everything. It's so good. Pre bedtime, wake up in the morning. The doorknob stretch is a winner, and you can do that holding on to a fence at the park or a park bench. Sometimes I do it holding on to the edge of my sink if you have the space in your kitchen.
Got it.
You can do it right, like if you're waiting for your tea or coffee in the morning, you can do make the doorknob stretch a counter stretch.
Right. And I love that you said, it seems so obvious, but it's such an important thing to wrap your head around, really. It's kind of acceptance, how you said, do less of what causes you pain. So if you can walk and you can't run, because I've found myself when I'm going through bouts of pain, still trying to power through and do my same workouts and do my same activities. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's kind of this acceptance thing. And it's something that I think a lot of us when we have back pain, we don't, stop and give ourselves that grace and that time to actually go through the process of healing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I came up with a stretch to do, but actually, one of the things that we often do that is also a mistake with when we have back pain is stretching but not strengthening.
Right.
So for a lot of people, especially people who have done a lot of yoga, especially for women who tend to be a little bendier than men, a little more flexible than men, there's this whole phenomenon that happens. This is my theory, by the way. Nobody else has subscribed to it yet, but there's this whole phenomenon about women and back pain, and that our mechanism for back pain is very different from Bob, the 58-year-old truck driver, or somebody who's in the tech industry sitting at a desk. For women, we have these hormonal changes, and in the luteal phase of our menstrual cycle, um, we get more stretchy
Wow.
and more stretchy, and then doing more stretches creates more stretch in the ligaments. More stretch in the ligaments creates a little hypermobility or less stability in the spine. And newsflash, your spine does not want to be really stretchy. Your
Right.
spine really wants to be stable and strong. So once you can, like, basically kind of touch your toes, that's enough. You don't need to put your head through your knees and, like,
All these crazy yoga poses they're doing now. I'm just like, ah. Well, that's good to
and
know. So we want
yeah,
to kind of balance the strengthening. We want to like focus on strengthening, but not stretching, but not stretching too much, not overstretching.
yeah. I mean, the stretch that I mentioned, the counter stretch, it's actually it's a tension based stretch, so it's not a fold and flop.
Right.
So you're actually creating more tensile challenge to the soft tissues, and that will actually make them stronger,
Got it.
which is different than just sort of flopping into a
Flopping
pose and
over.
holding it, which is just holding a stretch with no
Okay.
tension.
So you're kind of doing both. You're kind of doing both at once. You're keeping the tension while you're stretching, which is ideal as opposed to just doing some kind of crazy yoga move where you're just not having that tension, basically.
Yeah, and on the topic of yoga, I mean, because I come from the yoga world, I taught yoga for 10 years before I got a little bit more into anatomy and injury prevention. And yoga is really great for de-stressing and decompressing and stretching and sort of overall well-being. But there's a lot of things that we do in yoga that over time, like I was doing yoga for 20 something years, and I was belly breathing a lot and I was stretching a lot, and it's not so great for your body to keep doing those things and to try and go deeper and deeper and deeper into stretches. And by the way, belly breathing is great to calm your nervous system, but it's really not great for your spine, because when you think about it, let's say this is your back and this is your belly. And belly breathing is inflate your belly like a balloon and then exhale and release it, right?
Right.
What are you doing when you inflate your belly like a balloon? What's happening to those muscles?
They're pushing up against your spine.
No, they're stretching.
Oh, they're stretching. Okay.
So you're basically overstretching your abdominal muscles over and over and over and over.
In the wrong direction.
Basically, yeah.
You're kind of doing the opposite of core work almost.
Yeah,
You're
kind of.
blowing out, you're blowing out the core in the wrong direction.
That's right. That's right.
Very interesting. Well, that's great to know. Now, what I find fascinating with your work is you're also a certified nutrition counselor, and you get into this as well with your clients. Are there nutrition strategies that can help us with relieving back pain?
Yes, for
Mm,
sure. I mean, it's nutrition, and we go through lifestyle things as well, right? So we've talked about breathing and stress relief. But I'll get to the nutrition, but I do want to mention that, one of the things that I do that's really unique in retrained back pain is it's called removing aggravants. And the idea is that, so if I were to ask you, Christy, name two things that you think you do that probably aren't so great for your back.
hmm, maybe sitting with bad posture when I'm sitting for extended periods of time working. Um, what would the other one be? Maybe if I'm picking something up, I don't have the proper, I'm like bending the wrong way or not squatting. Maybe those two things I would say.
Yeah. And you mentioned sort of pushing through your workouts when you're in pain as well.
Yes, that
Yeah.
too.
So these things that you already know, it's like a game of Jenga. You keep adding up all these aggravating things that we do every minute of every day. And over the course of 24 hours, that's a lot of aggravation for a body in pain.
Right.
So if you pluck out some of those things, I work with my clients on how you sit, stand, sleep, lift, carry, empty the litter box, pick up your kids, play golf, practice for opera singing. I mean, you name it, whatever your life is, we go into your lifestyle and find out how you're driving your car and how you're sleeping and what chair you're sitting on at your desk and all that stuff. And so, these are some of the things that when we have back pain, we're not really thinking about everything. We're not thinking about how we change the sheets on our bed.
Right.
And we're not thinking about what we're eating, to get back to the nutrition question, as affecting our backs. But, you know, once you're in pain, I mentioned the game of Jenga before. That's the game where you stack a bunch of blocks and then eventually you have to pull out a block and the whole thing comes tumbling down. Your immune system is like a game of Jenga.
Wow.
And once you're in pain, it's already teetering. It's already
And
pretty loaded up.
in the state of being pained, that's you're basically constantly in fight or flight. Is your body nervous system constantly in fight or flight when you're in constant pain?
There's a high cortisol
Cortisol.
thing happening for sure.
Got it.
And then you add, maybe you've got like some allergies come on, or maybe you go to somebody's house and you've got pets and you're allergic to pets, and you ate something that, oh, I know I shouldn't really have ice cream, but it's so good, and you eat the ice cream. All of these things, literally everything that you're doing has an effect. You're either feeding the pain or you're not feeding the pain. So you're either helping your immune system or you're harming your immune system.
Right.
And this is an exercise that I call back pain accounting. I actually have on my podcast, I just did a podcast about back pain accounting. And it's really just creating a ledger of positive and negative things that, is this going to help me or is this kind of going to hurt me?
Right.
And most people know, like, oh, I really don't feel well when I eat like a half a sleeve of Oreos, or they don't feel good when they eat fried chicken, or you name the food. Most of us, by the time you get to 30 or 40 or 50, we already kind of know,
Right.
but we ignore it. But when you've got pain, like, that's pain is really all it is it's the fire alarm. If pain is not an indicator of how broken you are, pain is your body's signal telling you, do something, help me.
Right.
And so once you're in pain, you really, I'm just going to say sugar.
Hmm.
I'm going to go for the easy bad guy and just say stop the sugar, because sugar is really one of the worst things for your immune system, and it really jacks up the pain hormones.
Inflammation. Yeah. Yeah. That's such a great mindset shift because that really, for me, listening to you, drove home this whole holistic approach of it. Because I guess when, you're not thinking of it in those terms and you're experiencing pain, you're just thinking, oh, it's this something, yeah, it's right here and something's out of place. And if I just like move my back one way, I can pop it back into place and everything will be fine. But thinking of it in this, like, all these different factors that you're kind of piling on, and thinking of your immune system and your nervous system and all these things that you can actually do something about, and you can make the changes yourself and have control over those things to help your body get back into, or get out of, this state. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, and for some of my clients, I'll tell you what a couple of the most popular pain triggers are. Um, Without a doubt, housework,
Hmm.
particularly vacuuming, is really, really hard, because you've got this often a heavy vacuum, you're reaching away from the body, and you're bending and you're twisting.
Right.
And so vacuuming is really, really, really terrible for the body, and gardening is really extremely stressful. I have another client he likes to do projects around the house. So he's always doing like construction projects around the house. And while we were working together one to one, he was doing great. And then I think around our fourth session, he had a major setback, and he actually like called me before our session. It was like, I need to talk to you early. And what had happened was he was doing some kind of plumbing under the sink in the kitchen. And so he was, as you would be all scrunched up and your body's all twisted, trying to like fit this like 6'4" guy in this little tiny sink in the kitchen. So there are some activities that when you already have a pre-existing condition or when you have already been experiencing pain, you just gotta say no.
Yeah.
Like, don't vacuum, don't garden. Hire somebody, tell somebody else in the house to help you with it. There's lots of creative ways to get around doing those things that you just do.
Right. And that's the what you were mentioning before about the homework. It's like we think in our minds we can just go to the chiropractor and they're gonna, or the acupuncturist or get that massage and then everything will be fine. But that's the homework. I mean, that's like be mindful of, when you're in pain, what else you're doing that could trigger it.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about everything that you do with a mindset of, is this going to be good for me or not?
Yes.
And I give you permission to not do the things that are not going to be good for you.
Yes.
Don't, yeah, I mean, if you're not sure if it matters, I'm going to tell you it matters. Don't do it.
And the crazy thing is when you go to a chiropractor or anybody in the back pain industry, they don't have these conversations with you. They do the
No, and
treatment and you don't get any of the kind of don't do this, don't do that.
yeah, and in fact, one of my clients, she signed up for 6 sessions with me one to one, and when we got to working together, she had had terrible neck and upper back pain. And in our first session, we did all the assessments and we did the intake, and I gave her a little bit of homework. And in the second session, I said, now let's come back to this physical therapy because she's been doing physical therapy for several years and it's not getting better. And I said, so tell me, show me the exercises. Her homework was to compile all of her physical therapy handouts. She was getting paper handouts. She showed up to our meeting with a stack this high of probably several hundred PT exercises.
Wow.
And so she'd go and see her PT, and her PT would just give her more stuff. And there's not really, for many PTs, physios, there's not really an opportunity to give somebody homework and then get feedback in real time about, am I doing this right? Or I did that plank exercise and I felt my left hip didn't feel right, and then give me an alternative, or you know what I mean, or oh, that didn't work, let's do this instead. That dialogue, sometimes it can happen in with your physical therapist, but um, for a lot of people, that's not what it is. It's sort of like a one-way road. They give you an exercise and then you're on your own,
Right.
and they assume you're doing the exercise A correctly, and B, they kind of know you're not doing it every day like you're supposed to, but anyway.
Right. Now you mentioned this as well, and this is a big one that I struggled with my pain, which is sleeping. When I would have my episodes in lower back and hip area, sleeping would exasperate it and make it so much worse. Sometimes I wake up practically crippled in the morning and I'm like, how am I gonna, sometimes it really affects the quality of sleep. I'm sure for a lot of people listening too, or, getting any sleep at all sometimes. Are there any techniques around, how do we sleep with back pain? Is there something, a position that's best, or what do we do?
Yeah, this is a great question. Thank you so much for bringing it up, and I'm sorry that you've been through the sleep ringer with your back.
Yes. Not fun.
It's not fun. For we'll go through the whole sleep situation, right? So, um, if you sleep on your abdomen, that is the least ideal position to sleep in, because when you sleep, your body relaxes, and then sort of the weight of your abdomen and your organs and your it kind of sinks into the mattress, and you end up sleeping in spinal extension. Actually,
Right.
so tummy sleeping's not great, but what you can do, if you're a tummy sleeper, is get a body pillow, and you can sort of lodge the body pillow under the underside of your abdomen and throw your arm, your abdomen, and your top leg over the body pillow, and that'll give you. So by wedging it under the underside of your abdomen, you're sort of lifting your organs,
Right.
right? Your organs probably weigh about 60 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And so
Interesting.
just by creating a little bit of a lift under your waist, your bottom waist, that's going to keep your spine from um, extending too much into the mattress. So that would be, it's sort of, instead of being a tummy sleeper, now you're like an oblique tummy sleeper.
Right. You have something supportive under there that's pushing everything the opposite way. So it's kind of
Yeah,
counteracting that kind of sagging that the back would kind
exactly.
of,
Sagging. Good
right.
word. And then for people that are side sleepers, same thing, body pillow. And, it's really good if you have shoulder pain to have your top elbow in line with your shoulder when you're side sleeping. So often we sleep and we sort of collapse on ourselves like this.
Yeah.
But it's really good to have something that's going to bring this arm so it stays in line with your shoulder. Same with if you're on your left hip, let's say, then your right leg is going to be over the pillow.
Got
And very often we'll sleep with the leg on the pillow, but it's like this, it's going down to the pillow. But you want your knee in line with your hip, particularly if you have hip pain. You want to keep the knee in line with the hip while you sleep so you're not creating that pulling because your leg is also quite heavy.
got it.
It would be the side sleeper solution. And for some people sleeping on their side, it also helps to have like a small lumbar pillow, like something about this wide under the side waist again, so you don't sink into, so you don't end up sleeping in a side bend.
Got it.
It's particularly helpful for people with spondylolisthesis. And then for back sleepers, you want somewhat of a firm pillow under either the back of your thighs or your knees. And for people with a lot of anterior tilt in the spine, it's sort of helpful to get your legs onto the pillow and then to drag your body a little bit towards your head. And what that'll do is that'll actually shift your pelvis into a little bit of posterior tilt, a little bit of a tuck. It's amazing how many people sleep in extension
Right.
or sleep in like complete flexion.
Right.
Even if you're side sleeping, just think about like where is my neck in relationship to my spine and where is my spine in relationship to my pelvis. And you can still sleep on your side and be sort of snuggled into a pillow without being, completely folded in on yourself. So having some awareness of where your spine is, at least for the first REM sleep hour or so.
Right. So you're not pulling everything out of place or putting stress or, yeah, putting the back in the wrong position. Oh, these are great. And they have some great pillows. They have those U pillows now. They have body pillows. I mean, there's so many great options out there for sleeping too. So let's get in a couple more solutions because these are incredible. What are some of your other top solutions for managing and relieving back pain? And are there a few things that people could do right now to help alleviate their pain and help their back?
Yeah, so I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget.
Beautiful. We like lists.
Yeah, so you're talking about specifically for relieving back pain, like in the moment, or you're talking about long-term solutions?
Maybe some of each. We could mix and match.
Yeah, so we already talked about breathing. We already talked about hanging.
Yes.
Another thing I like is rolling on therapy balls.
Mm,
So therapy balls are, they're small rubber balls. Tune Up Fitness makes the ones that I like the best, and you can get those on my website on my product page. And therapy balls are really great because they're grippy, portable, and pliable, and they're affordable. They're like $15 max or $20 max, and you can drop them right in your purse. You can keep them in your glove box. You can bring them on an airplane. And because they're soft, they don't create a ton of pressure against the bones of your spine. And in fact, when you're rolling on two toted balls, they create a nice little
yes, I have one of
divot.
those. Those are so great.
And they're really great for massaging the muscles on your back. So I'm a huge fan of rolling on therapy balls. Really great way to get right to that spot that's super achy and uncomfortable. Um, what else do I have on here? I also use a breath belt.
Hmm.
So there's this. This is also on my website on the products page. There's It's a support belt, right? That sort of wraps around your hips and your waist and it holds you in. So, for people, postpartum women, people with spondylolisthesis, people who realize that their back is just really achy by the time they got to make dinner at night, right? They're just tired. It's not a bad idea to wear a brace for something like that, like, oh, around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You want to put on a brace for half hour or an hour. Or if you're going to go to the gym, and you want a little extra support, it's like remember those weight belts they used to use?
Yes.
It does provide what a breath belt does is it creates, we talked about belly breathing and stretching out your abdomen. The
Mhm.
breath belt creates sort of a superficial infrastructure that you can breathe into, and it really activates the tactile feedback of the breath belt helps you breathe better,
Ah,
and it also helps you sort of access your muscles better. And what's unique about this breath belt that I love so much is it has little pockets on the inside, and you can put your therapy balls in the breath belt.
oh,
You can wear them on the front for your psoas. You can wear them on the back for your erectors. And sometimes I wear them when I'm like doing laundry or just kind of walking
Mhm.
around the house. If I don't have time to like roll out my back, but I'm a little achy, I'll just strap them on with the breath belt. And as you're walking, your hips are moving, your back's moving, and the balls are massaging in there.
Oh, I love this.
Pretty good.
I love this. I'm gonna have to get this. I think I do have a breath belt. I don't remember it being called that, but it's kind of like a one of my doctors had given it to me a very long time ago. With it goes around the hips and has the Velcro, and you make it really tight. But yeah, it creates this kind of core. It's like tight core for you.
Yeah, it's good to have a little helping hand when you're a little fatigued.
Absolutely. Oh, those are great.
I forgot
And
about what you
now,
said. Are we done? Oh, the other thing I would
oh,
do is I would stop trying to go it alone. Stop trying to figure it out. If you've had pain for 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 4 years, and everything you're doing is not working, I, you know, I understand how frustrating it is to spend money and to believe in something and be disappointed when you're in pain. I
yeah,
understand because I've been there and I spent thousands of dollars. But giving up and not trying to find the next thing that's going to help you is not the solution. So, um, you know, if you don't do anything, you're just going to keep doing less and less because you're not sure what you can do, and you'll get weaker and weaker, and you'll be enjoying your life less and less. And so, the more time you waste not doing anything is the more time you're going to be in pain. So my recommendation is find a really great coach who's really knowledgeable about back pain, who has an integrated multidisciplinary approach, who can listen to you and support you, and do it, and get yourself the skills that are going to last you not just this episode of back pain, but it'll last you till you die.
right. And are there preventative things we can do if we let's say we have a history of back pain and we really don't want to go back there again? Are there, you know, postures or like daily practices that you would recommend to kind of keep from getting back into that pain state?
Yeah, I mean everything that we're talking about, it's all in my course. It's
Yeah.
it's it's preventative, but it's also treating and it's managing. But a couple of easy things to task yourself with are not sitting too much.
Mm,
Um, it doesn't matter how great your chair is. The best position for you to be sitting in is the next position. So vary your sitting position. Sit with your leg up and then sit with your leg under you and then stand up and then put one foot on a box and then take a walk. And so a lot of movement and not stagnating, and standing desks. So I'm at a standing desk. A standing desk is no better if you're standing in your habit
right.
and you're just reinforcing your dysfunction.
Right.
So the same thing applies for sitting desks and standing desks, and even sleeping. If you always sleep on the left side of the bed, well, sleep on the right side of the bed. You will sleep differently.
Right.
Sleeping's really hard on the body, and so if you sleep on the same side of the bed for 40 years, your body is going to adapt to that position that you sleep in when you're completely relaxed. So just change it up is my big tip. And even your exercise, if you're like a die-hard CrossFitter or you're a die-hard runner, add some variation. Go
Yeah.
dancing or do Pilates or, do some mobility work all day, every day before you do your stuff.
Oh, that makes so much sense. This has been so incredible. For those that want to contact you and learn more about the work you do, how can we do so? And can you share with us what types of programs you have available and what types of work you do with your clients? And also, do you have other great resources we can check out? I know you just mentioned you have a podcast, so that's exciting.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Everything that I do is you can find me everywhere as Retrain Back Pain. So I'm on. I'm working my way up to YouTube. I've been a little shy about the video thing, but I'm getting there. But Instagram, Facebook community, Twitter. I don't really do Twitter much anymore. And I also do have articles that I write on my blog, and I've recently started a podcast as well that's also called Retrain Back Pain that you can find on all the usual places. And the way that I work with clients is, it's very me. It's me. I'm not like this big conglomerate. It's still the Deneen show. So you have great access to me whether you do the group coaching program, which is called the Back Rehab Boss, or you do the one-to-one work with me. And so one to one, I work with clients like this, like Zoom. And, what's people are like, oh, can we do this if you're not touching me? My whole thing is giving you the skills. So
Yes.
I can see your body through the screen, and I do take photos. I do like mark up the photos and do postural assessments and breathing assessments. And I can do the assessments one to one. But it's really about me transferring my knowledge to you, so you know everything you need to know, and that's what's cool about the Back Rehab Boss program. The one-to-one is if you want results and you want all your questions answered and you got no time for that group stuff, then we work one-to-one. If you're like, oh, I want access to the program, I want to pick and choose, and I like the group coaching aspect, then the Back Rehab Boss is the similar structure as my one-to-one work, but it's in a course format, and we do group coaching on Zoom. And both of those things, Chrissy, I have to say that the satisfaction of both my Back Rehab Bossers and my one-to-one clients is 100% because I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to be pain free. What I'm guaranteeing is that you will have 100% more knowledge, skills, tools, confidence than you did when you came in. And so, what the course and working with me in Retrain Back Pain does is it gives you the information you need to be able to confidently prevent, relieve, and manage your back pain so that no matter what happens, let's say you run 25 miles and you shouldn't have, or you sit in the car for 12 hours, or you sleep wrong, at the end of the day, you're not even panicked about it because you have all the tools, you know what's happening, you know your body, you know you can call me if you need me, and suddenly you know what to do in every situation.
Right. Oh, that's so powerful. So you're empowering each and every one of your clients. And you're also giving us our listeners a freebie today. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so there's a link to a video workshop, and it's how to manage its back flare up solutions, what to do for back flare ups. So there's, I don't know, 10 or 12 or 15, I forgot how many are in there, but it's a
Beautiful.
quick, like 10 or 15-minute video that gives you a bunch of great ideas about how to manage um, back pain incidents.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. I'm definitely going to check this out myself because I struggle with that as well. And I'm going to post a link to everything below. You can find Denise's link and all her social media, as well as the free course that she's offering us. And Denise, before we wrap up the show, do you have any final words to share for those who are struggling with back pain and really struggling to find solutions?
Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Surgery is not the enemy. At some point, it may be a viable option, but try everything else first. And if you haven't tried some of the things that we talked about, then we should talk before you either give up or try surgery. But there's lots of things for you to do. Just keep trying more things.
Yes. Find the right people that know the right tools. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey, what you've learned along the way, and all the really great holistic solutions to help us all alleviate our back pain, as well as the really important work you're doing with your courses and educating others to empower them. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Great show. Great interview. Appreciate it.
Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about your body, the better you're able to stay healthy and prevent disease. And a reminder, I am not your doctor, so please don't take this as medical advice. If you have specific questions about your healthcare, feel free to reach out to your practitioner. And if you like this video, please like and share it with others. This information could really help someone you may know. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to be sure you don't miss out on our future shows. And I will see you all next Wednesday on the next episode of Discovering True Health.